I thought it was very important that my nephew first and my nieces and my cousin understand the importance on why our history is important. American history is black history. And I think that they need to see and understand what this fight is about so that when they get to be older, that they will not be individuals that sit on the side and let history write for themselves, that they will be a part of history and write history for themselves.
Welcome back to Tallahassee, Florida, where the people are leading the fight against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and his attempt to whitewash Florida and American history as he wages culture wars against black history and black Floridians. 3 teenagers have stepped into the breach. Florida high school students Victoria McQueen, Juliet Heckman, and Elijah Edwards are poised to sue DeSantis after the state education department rejected a new advanced placement course covering African American studies. These 3 honors high school students would serve as the lead plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Victoria, Juliet, and Elijah join me now. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Now, we got to meet you before, Elijah. You're a 10th grader. You go to school here in Tallahassee. Victoria and Juliet, you also are based here in Tallahassee. I want to start with the ladies because we've talked to you, but I want to talk to the ladies because you're already in AP classes, right? So talk to me, Victoria, about the importance of taking AP classes and why you would want to take this AP African American Studies class.
APs have opened my eyes to an array of new information. When I took honors in middle school and the friends I have in honors classes now, we go farther back in history, we go deeper into history, and if we had the option to take African American history at the AP level, we also would get that deeper knowledge that you don't get baseline and that you would have to find deep in the internet to get that information because it's not easily accessible at our schools.
Yeah. And Juliet, you know, Governor Ron DeSantis ostensibly is trying to protect you from that class because he is concerned that if you, as a young white woman in America, were to learn about the sort of horrors of slavery, for instance, or sort of, the horrors of redemption after Reconstruction, that somehow that would make you uncomfortable, and he has decreed that to be illegal. How do you feel about that? Does it make you uncomfortable to learn the sort of difficult parts of American history?
No, I mean, it's just part of history. And I think it's just upsetting that he can dictate what thousands of students are going to learn. And I mean, we're the generation that is working to uproot all these systemic issues within our society. And, they're uncomfortable topics. No one likes talking about those sorts of things, but they're necessary to understand how we are today and why things have led to where we are.
And you both are juniors. Elijah, you're just in 10th grade, so you're not even yet in the 11th grade, sort of realm where you would be taking these classes. But I mean, you are all honors students. You guys are all high achieving students. What do you make of the fact that DeSantis is now even threatening to get rid of all AP classes? That would make it more expensive to go to college because you do get college credit. It reduces the cost, but it also helps students like you all be attractive to colleges around the country. What would it mean to you if there were no AP classes here?
Honestly, I think you're just watching that dumb man double down on a stupid decision in the first place. He first came out of the way and said that the class had no educational value, which made no sense because we're taking all different types of other history classes. And now he's saying to get rid of all the AP classes, which we don't have for I don't know how long. So, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to throw away the whole education system at this point. No school.
Well, I mean, right now there's a challenge. I mean, Duval County has outlawed, or has canceled something, 179 books. They're out of the curriculum. I mean, books are being banned in this state, even as we speak. And I wonder, how do you feel about that? Have you noticed from your teachers any nervousness or fear about talking about history? You're nodding yes.
One of my former and current teachers, my former teacher, she had to limit what she teaches now because she has students who they will go to their parents and they will explain, my teacher told me this, and she's fearing for her job now. And then I have another teacher who she's explained, I understand what the problem is, but I have to teach this. On our AP exam, we have to learn this, and you will not understand what you're talking about and what you're writing about in our response questions if you don't know the depth and the detail of what has went on in African American history.
And I mean, for you, I mean, the idea of books being banned, it seems like it's from another century.
Yeah.
You know, how do you feel about this idea of books being banned because they have themes about LGBTQ people, or because they're written by a black author, or they're about Dr. King? I mean, that's on the list.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like Florida is just going to be stuck in, like, frozen in time, and the rest of the country is just going to move on. The rest of the world's going to have an understanding of what's going on and what these issues are, and we're just going to be, like, I don't know what he thinks it's going to accomplish. It's just keeping people ignorant, so that I think he's just afraid that when people learn the things that they will learn from these classes and from these books and these authors, that it's going to evoke change. And I think that's what he's really afraid of.
They have claimed on the right that these high-level courses are teaching critical race theory. Have any of you ever taken a class and had critical race theory brought into it? You ever taken?
Nah, I haven't.
Have you, ladies?
Nope.
I had a class and they touched on it, but she did not go into depth because she didn't know what could and couldn't be said about it.
Well, she was too afraid to go into it. And do you know what critical race theory is?
I've never been able to. I've tried to look into the deep definition of what it was, but, and I never can fully understand it. And then the people I would usually go ask
are too afraid to answer the question.
Talk about it.
Have any of you ever thought about being a teacher? Has that ever entered into your mind, the idea? Or do you have friends that have thought about it that are maybe rethinking it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You were answering it, John. You like?
Oh yeah, one of my friends said he wanted to be a teacher. Until one of the teachers at our school talked about how underpaid they are and how they can't even do nothing.
Yeah, they are very much underpaid. And Juliet, does this sort of change your, I don't know, your attitude toward going to college in Florida? Because DeSantis is not just targeting high schools. He's also trying to strip the things he doesn't like and the way that Black history is taught in college as well. Does this make you less interested in going to school in Florida?
I mean, yeah, it's him threatening, him using fear to push these decisions. It just makes it seem like there's not going to be as big of an educational chance in Florida, because it just makes it sound like he's going to pick and choose what we get to learn, and the rest of the country just gets to, have the whole side of history, and Florida just won't. So, yeah, it definitely does.
It doesn't seem very wise if you're trying to make your state more attractive to smart young people like yourselves. I want to thank you, Victoria, Juliet, and Elijah. Please give them a hand. You all did a great job. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Good luck with your studies. And I hope you're allowed to study.
Yeah.